In this video, I'm going to help you reassemble your 6x6 if it breaks apart in any way or pops. Thanks to the massive support for my 4x4 and 5x5 assembly videos, it's time to bring you this 6x6 assembly video. In the description, I'll be leaving timestamps for every layer, pop scenarios, as well as a full time-lapse assembly at the end for reference. Huge thanks to SpeedCube Shop for supporting this channel, and make sure to use discount code HERO at checkout for any of your cubing needs. And lastly, don't forget to give this video a like, and while you're at it, make sure to subscribe if you found this tutorial helpful. Without further ado, let's get this. First things first, we need to smash this apart. The first thing I recommend in any large cube assembly is to separate your pieces into main piles. White layer corners and edges, yellow layer corners and edges, inner layer edges, and all pieces in their own piles: white, yellow, green, blue, red, and orange. For reference purposes, I'll be referring to the brackets as follows. For the large brackets, I'll refer to them as larger inner brackets. For the two smaller brackets, I'll refer to them as follows. The smaller lip inner brackets will be referred to as the smaller lip, and the larger lip inner bracket will be called the larger lip. So just keep that in mind for when I'm doing this tutorial, so you can reference those parts. Now that all these are set into their own piles, I also suggest having some tape and a small screwdriver nearby in the event you'll need to reinforce a piece. Tape is also very useful for non-magnetic cubes. So starting with the core, don't be alarmed when you see all those free-flowing centerpieces. Those do serve a purpose. I highly recommend loosening up all the screws if you haven't yet. When I build my first layer, don't bother with the centerpieces at all. I find it's much easier to do at the end, and I'll show you what I mean in a later part of this video. And for now, let's take those yellow edges and corners and start to assemble them. If it's not magnetized, consider using tape to hold the pieces together. Once it's all assembled, set the core in place like so. Try to do what you can to get all the free-flowing parts to stay on the ends of the core stocks. When it's all said and done, it should look just like this. And again, for reference, something I prefer to use to save me some frustration is to tightly tape this first layer together to assist in bracketing. If you've watched my 4x4 assembly, this is basically an enhanced version. You're going to want to take 4 of these larger inner brackets and set them into the slots under the core. Doing this really assists in stabilizing the core as we build out the layers. And now that we have this all done, it's time to build our second and third layers kinda at the same time. I'm showing you this method because I personally feel this is the most successful way to assemble to avoid bracket popping, which is the most frustrating part to someone that's new to assembling this. You'll want to use the smaller and larger lips like this and wedge it under one of the core center plates like this. Once you have this in place, I build my second layer side first. Followed by my third layer side. Having the strength of the edge magnets really does help assist in the assembly of the other brackets. Once it looks like this, it's time to work on your second side the exact same way. When you get to the last two sides, you'll need to kind of build out the last two sides at the same time. And so I typically start by putting in my third bracket and building my second layer only. and leave out that corner piece. Once you have the last piece of the second layer in, I add the last 2 brackets into the last side just like this. Then I add the last 4 second layer pieces before capping it off with the last second layer edge piece. You may develop a faster way, but for absolute beginners, this is going to yield the best results. Regardless, this all takes a lot of time, so remember to be very patient. When it's all said and done, you should have the first 3 layers done and it should look just like this. Now it's time to work on the 4th layer, and unlike the first 2, these last 3 layers will be assembled one at a time. I typically start with the 4 corners of the 4th layer and include those large inner brackets like so. Once these are all in place, I take the smaller lip and larger lip and assemble each side of the large inner bracket. There will be 8 sets and they go in like this. When it's all done, it should look just like this. Now I take all the 4th layer pieces and drop them in around the cube like so. And now that it's all in place, it's time to work on the 5th layer. This is probably the easiest step since there is no bracketing to worry about whatsoever. Work your way around the puzzle with the remaining 5th layer pieces like so. Now that we have 5 layers done, it's time to set up the inner bracketing for the final layer. Taking the smaller lip and the larger lip piece, you'll want to put 4 sets in with a small bracket facing down like this. Now that it's time to work on the last layer, when this is done, we'll flip the puzzle upside down and finish the inners on the first layer like I talked about in the beginning. First, you'll need to assemble one side of the edge and corners. And place a large inner bracket inside each like so. Once you get one side in, we'll assemble the inner pieces and brackets. I'll take a set of the smaller and larger lip pieces and place them in between the center plate and the edge piece like so. And this is arguably one of the hardest steps to master, I'm not gonna lie, because you kind of have to put it in there and wedge it in with your fingers and just kind of trust that the force you place on it will make it all go in. And it does, it just takes a little finesse. So once this is in, you'll add some inner pieces to reinforce that first inner bracket you set in place like this. When the 4 inner pieces are in like this, you can add the second set of inner and outer lip brackets, holding the 4 pieces in place. It'll look like this. And now, we repeat the process around the cube till each of the last edge pieces are in. And now that we've reached the last pieces, you'll want to put the white side on its side and be careful of the bottom since there are no pieces holding it up. And now you can build another inner layer like this. And lastly, you can add the last inner layer, leaving the bracketing and edges for last. At this point, you might consider tightly taping up the pieces on each side just to really keep a strong hold. It's not required, but sometimes it's nice. I know that for me, this is the part that I struggle with the most. I haven't really found a super successful way of getting these pieces in, but tape really does help me. And now, you insert the edge like this. And now, you should have an almost completed 6x6 cube. All yellow inner pieces along with 4 smaller lip and 4 larger lips should be left. If that's the case, gently flip over the cube. If not, you either lost a piece or you have too many and you'll need to find out where that missing bracket goes at the end. To keep things simple, I highly recommend doing the yellow side the exact same way as you did on the white side and just take 3 of the edges and corners out of the yellow layer and start from the beginning. Once you have one edge in, I take a set of the smaller lip and larger lip and place it in between the center plate and the edge pieces, like so. So once this is in, you'll add some inner pieces. You can add the second set of inner and outer lip brackets, holding the 4 pieces in place. It'll look like this. And now, we repeat the process around the cube till each of the last edge pieces are in. Now it's time to tape the side before we set the puzzle on the yellow side. And now you can build another inner layer like so. And lastly, you can add the last inner layer, leaving the bracketing and edges for last. Once it's done, take a smaller lip and larger lip and place the brackets together with the smaller lip facing down like so. I do this one at a time, and you'll probably need a screwdriver to assist. And lastly, don't forget that tape for stability. Then, insert the edge like this. You may struggle, and to be honest, the first attempt I did kind of pop a little bit, but don't panic. Just kind of follow the steps and rebuild if you need to, and you'll be good to go. The last step is to make sure all the tensioning is properly done, and you're good to go. Congratulations on a successful 6x6 build, and I hope this was massively helpful. Again, please consider giving this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to use discount code HERO at checkout on speedcubeshop.com. And now, here is a total rebuild time lapse for your viewing pleasure, just in case you wanted to see it all done from start to finish. After the time lapse, I'll go over common pops and fixes. First, let's go over the common edge pop. When this occurs, don't panic. If you're fortunate enough to have all the bracketing in place, it's a very easy fix. Just angle the piece the way it's supposed to go in and wedge it in like this. If you discover the bracketing is all messed up, consider disassembling it till you can reach the part and review that part of my video till the 6x6 is fully assembled. Next, let's go over common piece popping. This primarily applies to pieces that aren't impacted by the bracketing. If this is a piece that pops, I wouldn't suggest wedging it in because you may impact the surrounding brackets. I would carefully take out the edge piece in front of the nearest inner corner piece like this. Then take out that inner corner piece. Once it's all out, you can assess the direction of the piece and insert accordingly. Just work your way backwards till the edge piece is back in place. And again, if you discover the bracketing is all messed up, consider disassembling it so you can reach the part and review that part of my video till it's fully assembled. If you made it this far, congratulations on watching the entire video. Make sure to comment and let me know you made it to the end. And please make sure to check if you've liked the video, subscribed, and of course turned on those notifications. Make sure to also click the link tree in my description. There you'll find links to my TikTok, Instagram, Discord, and lots more ways to engage. Make sure to always use discount code HERO at checkout on speedcubeshop.com. And until next time, happy cubing.